So, hey.
Hello.
Hi, Doreen. Are you okay?
I'm fine. How are you?
Doreen, have you met Tammy?
No, I haven't. I think we've collaborated before. However, I've never met them live.
I did that.
Hey.
Tammy, can you hear me?
Tammy, hey.
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 I don't know why I look like this. I have just realized that my digital image online at this moment is super white. No clue why. Okay.
So, I don't hear you, Frankie.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, totally.
Cool. I'm excited that you're at the GDPR party.
Woo.
Yay!
Yay!
So, I'm gonna kick it off by so what are your guys' views, I guess, on the general data protection regulation? Oh yeah. Can you hear me?
Do we have Tammy on the hotline too, or not really?
I don't know. I don't think she's there. She's pretty frozen on my side.
Huh.
Go on, internet, don't fail us.
That's the best thing about these. The internet and tech always fails.
Yeah, I know. It's like we always talk about how advanced we are, and then it's like my battery and my laptop is like 5 years old. So, can you tell me a little bit about you, please? That's okay.
Okay. Okay, should I start?
Yeah, just say.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I'm Doreen. I'm a curator. I'm currently based in Mexico. So, hello from Mexico.
Hola.
Like
I'm going to Mexico in like 2 weeks. I'll see you there.
Yes, please do. IRL as well, yes. And well, yeah, basically I'm a curator and I'm the founder of Antimateria, which is basically a platform that does research and exhibitions and creates exchanges between Latin American artists that work with digital practices and international artists who are also interested in this area. So yeah, that's what I do, and I eat a lot of tacos.
I can see Tammy flicking her hair, but I can't hear her.
Yeah, she's there.
Tammy? So, Frankie? You there? You guys are having online issues. Maybe we can just start off by because I think two people are slightly signal issues. There was definitely going to be signal issues if there's that many of us. But I thought we should just talk about the general data protection regulation. What's your ideas? What's your opinions about it?
It's a very bizarre thing because I think that I was not fully aware of this until recently, until probably a couple of weeks. And then, all of this week was this crazy emailing, changing policies and so forth, that I actually realized that, it's a very interesting way of reshaping the way we interact online and the way we understand our own autonomy within these platforms, particularly within the internet, because it feels sometimes that, or within this utopia of being able to do whatever you want, that it cannot really be regulated. So this is, for me at least, the very first time that I see something happening in the sense that you can feel no matter where you are, because I mean, of course, I don't use a lot of or not all of the things that I use are necessarily European, due to the place that I'm based on. However, how this shapes even my own Mexican way of flowing within the internet, even if this is not something, that is locally proposed or locally shaped in this case, which is an interesting thing to see on yeah, how we are flowing online. I don't know. What about you, Hannah? What have you been thinking about this?
I think it's like, I think that you need to start somewhere. Like there needs to be some sort of understanding of like a almost like mindfulness or moral choice on how we treat data and people online and their identity and how we respect it. However, I think actually like being able to understand that guideline in such a like the space is just like such an infinite space. It's like so hard to know where to begin. When you apply rules to something, when there are no rules, it's like, what are the best rules to apply? And I think that's like, I think like I have not read everything that they've, all the regulations and stuff, and I don't understand all of it, but there's, I feel like what they've done is like there is like a loose structure now where they can like we can start thinking about it now that something's in place.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, today I was thinking quite a lot about, I was basically thinking about how like data is, well, it's essentially knowledge, isn't it? It's data is information. However, knowledge only becomes useful when it is in action, when it like physicalizes, like knowledge in a library where the books you never open that don't affect society isn't useful.
Yeah.
Like it's not actually, it's only useful when it physicalizes. But and like in this moment of how how is data physicalizing? Like I know recently we had like the Cambridge Analytica or the Facebook issues. It's like how it's actually physicalizing. The way it's physicalizing at the moment is data is used in a capitalist society to manipulate us into essentially buying things and stuff like that. And that's actually one of the main structures. And it's also like putting us into like categories of ideas.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I know there's something really like basically it's not mindful. So that's kind of the issue. It's like a capitalist projection rather than, so I think that is definitely an issue. Like, like the data, like open source and data, it's like, it is incredibly, just a second. It is incredibly useful, but only if we can advance with the mindfulness to use it in the right way that is beyond the desire structure. It's like, having the right mind for it, for the data. So sorry, I had like a note up and then it like deleted and I was like, so just repeat what I said because I couldn't like, I need my iPhone notes, man.
I find it interesting also because when you go back into the idea of digital citizenship, what does that mean?
Say that again?
The idea of digital citizenship.
Citizenship.
Yeah. So all this idea that, of course, you can understand yourself as a user. However, there are other things at play that don't really relate only to the way you use these tools or platforms, but also to the way you can shape them, right? And can ask for better protection in terms of data or protection in terms of privacy or, any other like gray area of the things that you're sharing and saying and even thinking. So, for example, nowadays we are living in we're having the presidential elections in Mexico. So at this moment there are like the presidential campaigns, and you can see clearly that most of the stuff that is going out, other than debates and other than the newspapers saying this and that regarding the candidates, mainly the conversation is being held within social media. And what I find interesting about this is that even though people think that they cannot shape anything through these, say, online presence or virtual debates, or the thing is that actually what is happening is that you can start breaking a filter bubble that was there and that we were not conscious of that before, through, of course, questioning, how is it that we interact with people? How is it that we can share our ideas and who can actually get to read these things? So I think it's also very interesting the way we understand each other also through our own, digital identities, which is a little bit of what you were proposing at first of, what happens if we Google each other. Maybe we don't really know each other, but what happens when we Google each other and we start having these loose ideas of who this person might be, what this person might be doing, and who is this person sharing with. So I don't know. It's an interesting exercise, particularly within this uh, heavy politics going on at the moment, right?
Frankie,
Hey. Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can't hear Tammy.
Perfect. So she's going to just tell me what to say on her behalf, because her tech absolutely always fails. It's like her thing.
Girl. Technophobe. It's okay. What is Tammy saying through you?
Well, besides trying to coordinate this call, yeah, I think we have a lot of interesting views about this GDPR thing, because at first we really at first I just thought it was the most annoying thing ever, getting all these emails, which I certainly did not read, and just deleted them all sort of in bulk. But now, yeah, I don't know, really thinking about it, it seems like it's the first sort of accountability to be held for these like digital regulations that were essentially created way before they knew what the potential was for this technology. So I guess, yeah, I don't know, it's a really interesting moment to be a part of it.
Oh, I don't know what just happened. We should have realized this when there's like tons of us. Has everyone been listening? I've just seen Nyne dancing around at the bottom. You guys don't even know who is who. Right, guys, have you noticed that other people are Skype with us right now? Why not? But yes, has anyone like realized that there's other people watching us? Oh my god, that's my data protection right now. Like that. Okay, so I'm gonna just get up my. Okay, I'm gonna ask questions that are quite strange, but I think they're interesting. So, imagine if one day you look at a selfie or a pic of someone you are stalking online and you impulsively kiss the screen so hard and passionately that you fall through. You no longer have a biological body. You live inside the internet now. What are the things that you enjoy about your new life, and what structures about the biological world has been perpetuated? What has been created, and what are the implications of the internet world? I'm sorry, I asked like 4 questions. Can somebody just answer me, please? Do you, like, it's like basically like, rather than like thinking about it, it's not about your biological body. Imagine if you were living inside the internet, like what sort of laws would you create? That's what you have to start doing is like, and I know like obviously it extends into the real world, but if you were living inside the computer, imagine just kissing the screen, you see like a really like sexy picture of someone on Google, and you just go, oh, I just want to kiss it, and you kiss it so hard, you fall through the screen, and you're like, fuck, I'm like stuck here, like fuck, like things need to like it's pretty like tribal over here, like and Facebook is like a really shit place to hang out, like what I do.
You know, what I was thinking is that probably the fun part of that would be to stop being contained by just one body, right? So whenever I think about my own digital body, I cannot think about it in the sense that, you know, that I am being held within a vessel or something. I feel like, you know, there's bits of me everywhere. So I think that would be very interesting. You know, there's the tiny bit of me which is made out of my images, but there's this other tiny bit of me which is not fun, which is probably, you know, my financial information from my banks or whatever, right? So, or my failed applications to universities, or, you know, this is also part of your digital body, and it cannot be contained. So if I fell through the internet, it would be very interesting to try and find all my pieces, right? To try and find.
Yeah, like find every part of yourself that you left behind. Go, like visit it like face to face, and then pick it up and then like drag it into the trash and be like, no,
Please don't.
like,
You know,
no.
at some point I had this idea that was, you know, in how many pictures would I be, or could I be, and not be aware of it? You know, what happens whenever you go to whatever place and someone takes a selfie, and then you are just there laying on the background, and then that someone Instagrams this thing. So is this part of your digital body? Even if you are not aware of this, you didn't post that on yourself, right? You're not even aware that this exists at all. However, this is an image of you, and it's just flowing on the internet somewhere, right? So it would be very, I don't know, interesting to yeah, just go on and say, you know, let's see how many different spots I can find bits of myself, and if I can make sense of that as well, because potentially you couldn't, right?
You just keep like wanting to touch things, and you can never touch anything. You'd be like,
Yeah, that's true.
it's kind of like Anna, like go on her right now. She's in latex, and like I feel like it would be that. Maybe like trying to do that, trying to touch something.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I was just thinking about that. And with GDPR, you know, essentially it's like tracking every single thing that you do. Yeah, right. From university loan fees to where your current location is. And I'm just thinking like, my algorithm is so boring. Maybe I'd go inside and try and make it more juicy or like colorful or something, you know? Like I never check in anywhere. Like I'm sure if I had Tinder, it would give me all like basic bitches, you know? So I don't know, program it better to give me some more variety in my life. But yeah, I don't know. Tammy, I'm sure, like, you know, does her. Oh, okay. We're gonna try and call her in. That's what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
She better come over here.
Let's ease someone, Tammy.
She's like so in real life like.
Okay.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna sort this out.
Okay.
I was thinking also in one of these bits of thinking about that. I don't really know you guys in person, only Hannah, and of course, well, Izzy and Tani. But actually, I do have a digital interaction with you, Frankie and Tammy. So I'm gonna share that on the screen because I was aware that we met before, right? So you were doing this project for the Is This It platform? Can you see this?
Totally, that was us. Yeah,
That was you. And then this is me.
Oh,
No.
So yeah, you've heard my voice before, and I've heard yours before. It's a very interesting interaction within the internet, right? Because that's something that normally, well, doesn't really happen. And I love this project.
I
So
love that you synchronize sound connecting you guys.
That's so fun. Yeah, how did you get involved with that? Did someone like invite you, or you just saw the open call on Is This It?
I was invited through that drive-through.
Oh yes,
Through
love them.
Olivia
And
and
how
Helen.
we
Yeah,
met I met you
exactly.
and same with Tammy so thanks Helen and Olivia. Woo! Shout out to my girls. Okay, so like now you guys are like inside the screen. You click a really hot picture of either yourself or someone that you fancy or whatever. And then like, or maybe like now you're an avatar. Maybe you don't have a body, or maybe you're just code inputs and outputs and collective consciousness. What do you find different about your biological body and your data body? Doreen, one of your eyes is like closing, one of them is opening at the same time. Maybe you're like your avatar body probably wouldn't do that because it would be like more like like synthesized and like perfecto.
Yeah,
I was just
like,
thinking about.
I mean, I would definitely want to keep on doing things.
What you saying, girl?
Oh, hear me?
Yeah, say again. Ooh, hello?
Hello.
Oh, hey.
So,
What would I keep from my biological body, and then what would I change, right? So,
or like what is different about it? Like, change, like, girl, you don't even change.
well, of course, everything is different. The thing is that I probably would like to keep on doing things that I do with my biological body just because I get pleasure from them. Right? So, like, eating, for example, which is something that it wouldn't necessarily make sense if you have like a full-on digital body. You don't need to eat. You don't need to sleep.
Yeah, but for example, like in the future, you can just like you'll have like such amazing virtual reality, augmented reality that you can eat things, but it will have no calories. It'll taste the same, and you'll be like, yeah, I'm like really skinny now and like I have the perfect body because I don't have to eat a thing. I don't have to like I can do what I want because you can just do it virtually, even though it feels exactly the same. Well, that could be possible, I think. Maybe.
That's like literally the scene in the Matrix where the bad guy, you know, wants to get back into the Matrix because he knows the stake is not real or the girl in the red dress isn't real, but he chooses to accept it and, you know, have that better life. Yeah.
No, you say.
No, go for it.
Oh, I just think actually like it will just slowly become like more like this is when data like obviously there's data laws on the internet that are happening and the data feels separate like a screen feels very separate. It's like even though like the phone is an extension to your arm, which is almost like making you some way cyborg, but because a screen it feels like you're facing it as if it's a person, like it's like or like somebody else, like it's a different entity to you, but you're actually not so separate from it. And like the idea, for example, like I have like I was thinking like yesterday, like I have an implant to stop me from having babies, and like actually that's quite a drastic thing to do. Like there must be so many crazy things that are going to change us, like, but that feels so normal to me. Like I wouldn't question it, even though you know what I mean, like I can't have babies because of this right now. Like that's pretty like fucking big deal.
Because
and,
of the device.
Yeah, because of something inside me. Like and like that's so normal, like, you know.
Tammy's trying to speak as well. She says, I feel like it takes more to take the code body dance. You have to exercise it. Data dance. How does your body move online? She's the poetic one of us, so I'm going to be trying to interpret this.
Don't do a rap. Wrap it for us.
She's saying, I think a lot about what I'd have to make that heart fibrillate.
Fibrillate.
Do you guys can you guys see the conversation on Facebook that's happening right now?
Like I have like notes like that, like my notes for here. I've been like, okay, like I'm gonna like talk about all these things, but they just like they're so fragmented. I just got a message from HYDRA saying I accidentally showed my vulva. Oh, you're texting Like, I guess, like, actually, like, we've hardly mentioned the fact that there's, like, loads of random people online. Like, I don't even know if the audience knows that all these people are live right now. I don't know, we've not introduced them because, like, we're the ones talking. But basically, yeah, so they're all performing. But I think a big part of like for example, you guys have been talking, but sometimes I just keep looking at like Nyne dancing half naked, and then I forget what you guys are saying. But it's almost like representation of what the internet is like. It's like so chaotic. It's so like everything's going on, and there's so many different things, and it has so much meaning. But to be able to like break it apart and understand that it's actually just it's always like cloudy, like
I keep on thinking how I don't know, I like this idea that time doesn't really exist, it's just space in time that exists, right? So if you don't really have a biological body that can grow older, because in the digital realm that doesn't really happen, you don't really grow older if you don't want to, right? Your body doesn't really decay. How would we be able to understand time then? Would it matter?
Yeah, how would you'd be able to understand time through like trends, through Facebook profiles and like different people's profiles.
Yeah, Tammy's even saying that, you have to exercise the data body too, and also diet it. So I guess there is like an act of care that needs to happen online. You might not age, but you might have to, the upkeeps.
Yeah.
To add new programming languages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dependent on the platform obsolescence. Oh yeah. And then she's like speaking about what if these platforms are going to become obsolete? I guess the supercomputer is exponentially getting more and more smart, or way smarter than humans already. Law wherein 5 to 10 years from now they're going to just surpass our intelligence by light years, so what about the tech and the machinery and the infrastructure is going to be able to allow it to exist forever?
Well, it's just all of this stuff is like it's only
certainly.
Ooh, girl, you say your thing. Right?
No, well, I was just thinking that the idea of the eternal update, right? Even if you don't age, then you would still necessarily be updating. So yeah, I don't know. I like to think about the vulnerability of the machine, right? Which is probably one of the biggest vulnerabilities in terms of being accessed from the outside. So I don't know. I like this idea of being held within this apparently like a other dimension, right? Which is the internet, for example, which is not necessarily other dimension, but certainly the materials and interactions that are built from within are only vulnerable through their interfaces and through the, of course, the obsolescence, like Tammy said.
I guess also like what's really confusing because the internet is like a depiction of our mind, but then at the same time it's not, because it's like so manipulated at the same time. And I think also people are like, it's like obviously you can find an infinite amount of things, but at the same time we're like habits where like if something's created and it's easy, that people just like adjust to that without exploring. It's like you have to be adventurous online as well as in real life to see the world differently.
Yeah. And also, I think that creating an identity from within will take a lot longer, right? Because, I mean, in the end, we are all like a combination of different identities that in the end become like a big one, which is us.
Was like,
So,
was it like intersubjective, like it's like we all have a narrative and then like a story, and those stories all come together and they make multiple stories to create like a belief.
Yeah.
And then a reality.
Because then, you know, the way we understand ourselves, if we do at all, is through the connections that we have with the memories that we build and how we reacted to them in the moment and how we react to them now, right? But I don't know, I would say that probably with all of these different possible links that can be happening at the same time, because of course then your digital body could be everywhere and doing anything at the same time. How would you understand these links and these very particular impulses if you still have impulses?
Tammy is saying that online is real life, and it's very much like an octopus, one big organism. I don't know, you know, what I always think about is these nerd kids in the 90s spending all their time online and really creating online identities for themselves, whereas I almost take it for granted. Like, for sure, my online identity is sort of singular. You know, it exists in like so little facets, and it's not, you know, as complicated as what's in reality. So yeah, it's interesting to think that you can put in as much effort or no effort at all into these digital identities.
So I'll ask another question. I'm going through that. So data patterns create inequality. Filter bubbles segregate users and compartmentalize their data to fuel capitalism and systematically organize and manipulate. What is the landscape of the internet? What has your encounter of the internet environment been? Or been? So like for me, something that I've like recently, like I always think about like inequality in real life, and then actually like I think inequality online is something that's not really talked about, but actually it like for example, a really good example is stuff like politics, where like somebody when there's somebody up for election, you only see your side of your political view, and you'll like it's very rarely that it'll seep in that somebody else's political view that's very different to yours you'll see. And it's like that's when stuff like filter bubbles become like really apparent, or you get like you just start to see, like for example, even like say I'll go to an event and I've been there, and then like say you'll go there, and it was like say like a quite like a certain type of person goes to that event, and then like people that are suggested on my Facebook look like those sort of people that I just went to the event from, and I'm like, how is this happening? Like, this is weird, and it's a type of inequality that is like we at the moment like there's so many inequalities with like race, gender, like everything. But then, like, what is the inequality? Like the inequality online is like something that I think is like really raised. But to me it's inequality. Like it's like, yeah, like it's segregating, it's categorizing people into types, and it's also putting them into different access points, which I think like is like what happens with like gender and race and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know, I think that's something that's quite important to talk about, and it's something that's not really talked about. I don't know what your views.
Yeah, Tammy is saying that Screenshot, this publication that we both write for, that you might know, it's London-based, that they did a profile on this political app where it's basically like a Tinder for people with opposing political views. But that being said, it would be interesting to think about like the algorithms that generate, like whether you're super left-leaning or super right. And sort of what data you have to feed it to tell this application that you're, what political party you're affiliated with. So I guess from there, it was like, it's very much like a Skype call. Then you can sort of democratically speak about your opinions without so much judgment. But yeah, these algorithms are like totally, informed by the people who have been creating them. And it's such like a niche system that like in majority like nerd white dudes are coding these to be sort of like inherently biased.
Well, it's like, it's not even just being inherently biased, it's like they come from a different perspective, so they just don't understand that other, like if there's like majority have like that perspective, it's just not being challenged or approached in other ways because it's more to one mindset. So, and I think a lot of it as well is just, it's even just like stuff like, it's like a way of advertising, isn't it? It's like advertising creates like filter bubbles and stuff like that. It's like, it's for like consumption and capitalism as well.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look back the way political campaigns are being the past 5 years, that's to do with products are being advertised rather than the way that traditionally a political campaign is being was being led, right? Yeah, I mean, of course, what I always find problematic regarding these the filter bubbles or the echo chambers that we create within our own very personalized algorithms is the fact that we are constantly being pushed to be polarized, right? So it's not that you can only lay in the middle anymore. It's more a thing of, you have to choose sides. Whereas before, when you used to have these sort of conversations with people that were probably, in this same gray area that you are or you were or whatever within a topic, then it would be easier for people to understand that there are other possibilities, not only, A or B. And I think nowadays what is happening is that within these filter bubbles that we are not fully aware of, because particularly we are not directly engaged in how this is built, and I think that one of the main issues is that we don't really know where all of this information is being taken from, right? Because it's not only what you post on your profile and then what you like, what you share, what you repost or retweet or whatever. It's also all this other information that is being shared into these gigantic databases that are able to do what you were saying, Hannah, which is like, how come I was at this event and I didn't really talk with this person, but this person was there and now it is like a suggested friend, right? If this is something that you didn't post about or didn't talk about, but you were definitely there, and then, of course, it's because these data sets are not only being collected from the things that you're aware of, but also to other devices and, stuff that is laying around. And yeah, but what I find, I don't know, well, heartwarming sometimes is that more and more I can see, particularly through my students. I am also a teacher. I teach at the BA in digital arts. So a lot of my students are getting more concerned with this idea of how do I break my filter bubble. I don't want to be, just feeding myself through the things that I am already in like of or with, So they are constantly looking for collective experiences online that can help them move through these filter bubbles and be able to be part of different bubbles, although they are still filter bubbles, but like you don't really belong to all of them, right? So this idea of the collective profile or the collective experience online, I think it's something that is gaining um, I don't know, importance in a way. And I think that most of it has to do with this idea of, I don't really want to be polarized by these opinions, or I don't really want to shut down anyone that thinks different than myself.
Yeah, Tammy's asking a very blunt question. This is what she's saying. As in, it goes back to who is in control of the algorithm. It's all people to start off with, of course. I worry most about the implications of those in a material sense, which is why initiatives like Black Girls Code, etc., are so important, and Afrotech to diversify who is in control of development.
Yeah.
I went to a lecture recently. It's sort of about it was about the sort of saying the history of women users of the internet who were super influential in the 90s, who were making like community chat rooms, and who were really pioneers of like user experience design on the internet. So while men may have been those who have controlled the infrastructure and designed and built these systems, like it's been influencing for women to sort of pioneer these online digital community spaces, which is like so why we're all here. But like I don't know, there is some divide, but also like the users too can really influence these spaces. And Tammy's just saying it's the same as that time someone asked me why a white curator couldn't curate a show on Black art. Rough phrasing, forgive that was probably me, not gonna lie. It's not about can't, it's about there being so many things you're not even privy to in terms of structures and implications, and yes, also insight.
Yes, it's also about like this kind of balance and equilibrium, about like just being able to like balance things out a bit and just make these perspectives like voiced in a more like rounded way. I wanted to ask the next question. So the internet is the city that never sleeps. In my new non-biological world, I miss my bed, but most of all, I miss sleeping. What is missing in a place that is endless?
Wow. Limit, of course.
Wow. What a question.
Yeah.
It's also just a question. Fine. Should I just move on to the next one? Answer it?
I think that there's always a thing of not necessarily the fear of the unknown, but there is something that this feeling that it doesn't matter how much you read or see or eat or visit or or hear or whatever, you're never going to be able to fully understand the whole spectrum of that. And I find that very scary. I personally find that very scary. Probably because I'm a very intense person, but but I do find it scary. And I think this might sound a bit ridiculous, but what happens when you understand and know and accept that you cannot know everything, that you cannot have, think, eat, drink, etc., everything, and that you're never going to be able to do that. I mean, if we move back to the very first question that has to do with which bits of your biological body would still be useful and how would they translate it to these new materialities that have to do with the online life, I would say that we could even, I don't know, potentially try and contain all of these endlessness. if that makes sense. I mean, I like the idea that we moved from encyclopedias, which is basically trying to put in a condensed way the information about the world, and of course that didn't work out. And then here comes the internet, which is a space that is basically the same, but in a chaotic way. And I know
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, and how's that quote again? It's like the um, self-fulfilling prophecy of endless possibility, right?
Yeah, Tammy's saying that she might miss not turning off notifications because you have to do your bit and pull the levers so the workings and the screen can change. Dominoes can't not fall. I'm like butchering what she's writing. Oh, also like artists like E. Jane said recently, there's no trees on the internet.
But there's pictures of trees, and there's probably as many pictures as there are trees of trees.
Limitless pictures of trees.
But more pictures of cats.
What else is she saying? She's saying also artist and DJ Shenance Orthea, who described herself as a hypothetical gardener with whom I recently collaborated on her project. There's nothing here. Tape written, a digital chapel, thinking about Tumblr and other collections online as emotional repositories. What do you plant? Importance of ecological and caretaking within the space. A friend recently told me to go to bed, and I was so shocked and more than anything touched. Care. Oh, Shin. Okay, I can't fucking pronounce that, Tammy. She's gonna have to get. Anyways, you guys can see this sort of thread here.
I was just thinking about like the moments. There's like certain moments in your life where it's just like it like everything like feels real, it clicks or something like that. Like the moments. There's like certain moments in your life where it's just like it like everything like feels real, it clicks or something like that. Like, can you just hear myself? There's like certain moments in your life where it's just like it like everything like feels real, it clicks or something like that. Like, can you just hear myself? There's like certain moments in your life where it's just like I don't know. I don't like the sound.
We have to month someone.
Fucking hell, is it internet goes? I don't know. I don't like the sound.
We have to month someone.
Fucking hell, is it internet goes? Okay.
Has it now gone silence?
Oh, am I there? Yes.
Yes, here we go.
Okay, so I can hear Doreen, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, sweet. I'm going to just move on to the next question. So, what is precious about your data? When you connect in real life with another person, you feel how precious they are, and you feel there's a place inside their body where their preciousness exists. Where is the magical place that the psyche or soul resides? Scientists have never managed to find this place. A more modern approach to this assumes that we are biological algorithms, and there isn't one single place in the body where the psyche lives. We're just data. When we think about data online, how precious do we think it is? Do you think about this data being vulnerable?
Well, what is precious about this data is that it's ours, right? Was that a selfish thing to say? I'm sorry. No, but I mean, the thing is that I don't know. I find it precious that it's a way that we translate ourselves into a different language, but it's still us. Translated to something else, so it is precious in the fact that it is us. Like a different, it's like when I think about data and I think about all of these, when you Google like internet or information, and it's like all of these numbers and code and programming languages and so forth. I think about what happens when you don't speak a language and then you try to read it and you really can't. So what it becomes is a gigantic drawing that means something in the visual sense, even if you are not able to go into the space of understanding each word or each letter of it. And I find that also a very interesting experience. I don't know. It's probably something similar. We don't really understand the I don't know the depth of the data that is being held of ourselves, but it is precious in the fact that we can still appreciate that it is ours.
I guess it's precious because it's real as well. Like even like you act as if it's not a part of yourself, but it's like it's real. Another thing I'd say would be that it's like it's knowledge, it's power, it's intelligence. It's like if we understood more of our data, we could understand more about ourselves and about humanity in like a really incredible, amazing way and use it for amazing things. It can like make us have more self-awareness.
Yeah.
To understand our own data.
Yeah,
like or the data that we're putting online.
We'll just date like it's sorry, more reverb. Is it reverb? Yeah. Well, if we understood more of our data, and if we could basically decode it or whatever, we would understand parts of ourselves that we never knew, and parts of humans and humanity that we didn't. Like, for example, if you could accumulate, or if you could like look at everybody's like, say like just what you search on Google, like there's so many things that are so hidden about your through your psyche, about the things that you just Google. And if we could just understand, if we could actually understand and use that data to understand people and psychology and stuff, it would, it could be so helpful and so useful and make us, more intelligent. Yes.
But isn't this already all data that is being used in that way, but not in necessarily a positive way, just more to sell us ads?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. But then at the same time, it's like if more people had access to like for example, for me, I wouldn't actually care if somebody had all my data. It's just about the way, it's what mind is using my data. It's not about somebody having my data at all. Like I would really like it to be like, I would like to be an open source data, biological data, internet thing. Like I'm happy with that. But I'm just not happy with the way that they use it.
What I'm not happy about is like that nothing here seems transparent, right? It's not clear. It's never clear. It's always these like very shady black boxes that you can't really access however you should, but then other people's interests are at play, and these interests tend to be only economical interests or political interests that don't really have our like Frankie was saying, the best intentions. Well, I don't know. I'm going to share a very personal story regarding my data. I mean, I think I've never done this online, so whatever. Anyway. Recently, I came back to Mexico, and a friend of mine who works for the local government of the state that I live in was telling me that I am part of a list, which is basically a spreadsheet, like Excel spreadsheet, that has the names of people who are potential threats to keeping a harmonic interaction between the population, right? So basically, they think I am a radical. And I am part of this spreadsheet due to the fact that I share things that have to do with questioning things, particularly things that have to do with culture and politics, but also things that have to do with how will we perceive the future for ourselves and for, in this case, my city and my country, right? So all of this is definitely and most necessarily based on my online data, because I was not even living here for the past 2 years. So there is no chance that this information was retrieved because I was part of, a series of meetings or protests or whatever. It's not my biological body that is providing them with this information for them to read this and decide that I am a threat for security, right? So, and I find it very, very strange, right? Because the way that I'm being read through my data.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
it's
Am I a radical? I don't know. But I know it has to do with that because there is no other explanation for it, and there is no such thing as a category of, this person might be a threat because of this and that. It's just a spreadsheet with names. So you can't really tell why.
it reminds.
So
Sorry.
it's I don't know. I find it well interesting. At first, I was a bit paranoid about it. I am not anymore. I think. I hope. Well, fuck it. Just fuck it.
That's so interesting that you have the intel to know that you're on this list, though.
Yeah, I know. Which is also like, it was a very light-hearted conversation that was being held. Really, I was just, like ranting about the elections and Cambridge Analytica and all of this stuff, and then this friend of mine, she was like, well, by the way, you are actually considered a radical, um, which is interesting because then she and I have this conspiracy theory that the reason why I was hired in the local university, which is like the open public university, is to keep track of my activities, which it must be very boring because I am a very boring person, right? But
Yeah, Temmy's saying that she hopes the GDPR has started a conscious ripple effect.
yeah.
So maybe it's like similar to your situation where we'll actually learn what lists we're on, and maybe if we don't even learn why, we can sort of begin to understand that these things exist and how they're sort of categorizing us.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the end, that all of these lists and spreadsheets all over the planet with names of people or whatever that are being classified is specifically through our online data and the things that are available of us on the web. So that's also a very interesting thing. I think
We're gonna have to wrap it up in a minute.
Yeah.
And I have the last question. You don't even need to answer it in a way because it's almost like it kind of like flows onto what you're saying anyways, but I'll read it for you guys. So it could be also to whoever's watching, so they could think about this. Hey guys, answer my question. Imagine if you were sent a viral sex tape, you open it and become pregnant. What internet world would you want your internet babies to grow up in? Where do you see the future of data? Oh, and we can actually, I just got a text saying that we can wrap it in 5 or 10 minutes, so
Okay.
sorry.
Cool.
So, yeah, we should also talk about then, Tammy just wrote some more stuff.
Yeah, has it made any of you more private? Like the GDPR and all that. Whoops.
Oh yeah, I like when the Cambridge Analytica thing, you get like a message from Facebook. I was just like, nope, you can't have any of my stuff. Because I was just so like it's like I just don't trust you, Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. You like bastard. I hate your face. I hate your data, and I use Facebook, but I think you're shit.
Think about the internet babies.
Internet babies, yeah.
But yeah, I can't imagine
Internet
an
babies.
Internet babies. I like it.
But
I definitely want to, in this very utopic, very even cheesy view of the future, I would definitely like to have my internet babies to live in a space where they can also be represented. Yeah.
Tammy says, I hope people will start regarding their data profile with more stringency as if it were DNA.
Yeah.
was like, oh, she's like more. Frankie, do you want to be Tammy's voice?
No sex tape babies.
But also one where the same thing wouldn't happen to them. No sex tape babies. Yeah, I wonder even Tammy and I were playing with this idea of babies as well online, and we just haven't, they would basically take the form of micro conversations, I guess, which is kind of like what we're doing here. Oh, she wants me to shut up about it because it's top secret. But that is super interesting idea. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think about it again. So, I think just like you just want things to just like everything's like going in a strange direction. Like you want a safe place, don't you? You want a place where there's more equilibrium, more care. Like you don't want your internet. Oh my god, look at that GIF.
Oh,
grow up on Facebook, really? Do you? You want them to like grow up in like one of those like fantasy like Bjork videos, like YouTube videos or something.
Yeah, and isn't it interesting? We're always living in this contradiction. Like, okay, fuck Facebook. It sucks. It shouldn't steal any of our shit. Mark Zuckerberg sucks, whatever. But then we still use it.
I think we're actually using Facebook to talk to Tammy.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, I think there must be a balance, and I think that what is happening now is that people are becoming aware, like you were saying, of some of the implications of using these platforms, particularly Facebook, and what happens when you're aware of that, and whether or not you're going to do something about it. And the thing is not probably just getting rid of it. It's like a case of not techno utopia, but neither technophobia, right? I don't know how to call it. It's like I cannot get off this thing because that's the way that I work. Yeah, it shouldn't be the case. So, but...
Crazy world. Okay, so where do you see the future of data? Oh, I had a thought that I forgot, and then because I keep seeing like GIFs and stuff, and then my brain goes like another way. So I need to remember my thought. I forgot my thought again. Okay, just get back to me in a second.
I'll go back to Tammy said something just before that I didn't read. She said, think we need to change the word for data. Sandra Perry and abstraction. Think a similar thing is true. Jargonizes the clouds. Same as cloud to encourage distance. And then she goes on to say, Sandra Perry spoke to me recently in an interview for AQMB, and she was saying things that we need to change the word. I think from data to abstraction is what she meant, unless she's going to type something else. But yeah, data is almost like, oh no. There we go. Correction. I don't know, but yeah, this data word is like, she thinks we need to change the word for abstraction. Okay, to what? And I think we need to change the word for data.
Okay.
Okay, so then what would be the alternatives? Group questions, she's saying.
Okay. To change the word for data. Well, what does data mean? Data means.
Yeah, that's such a good. That is like it's information, isn't it? It's like algorithms. It's a pattern. It's just a pattern. Like for example, how DNA works. Your DNA doesn't like. It's like the DNA like itself. It's not the like material that changes. It's like the structure. It's like the pattern that changes. So everything is just patterns, and it's a way. And we have the choice to change the pattern. Always, we have the choice. And even though we like are always like in fear of like what's going to happen and stuff, like actually like change doesn't happen immediately. Change happens time. Even like small this this is like a huge movement in a way, the GDPR whatever. It's a huge thing, but then at the same time it's a small thing. It's showing us a part of change, but it's only one thing, but there will be so many more changes. It's like we like to think that things are bad, but actually things are changing, and we just have to be patient and see these things through, and also just like be informed and try to like, yeah, like I want this to change. Like you believe in it.
Yeah. I was very tempted to say fingerprints, but no. No, yeah, like Tami was saying here, she says that it took me so long to realize that data meant life, and also how flat the word data is. Data is one of these words that I find very strange to pronounce because I never know if I am pronouncing it correctly. But I never pronounce anything correctly anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. Data. Data. I don't know. There's this concept regarding the quantified self, and I hate it so much because then it means that data are only numbers, which would mean then that we are only numbers, and I don't like the fact that we can think of us as only numbers.
Yeah, but then we're number patterns, not like numbers. We're like it wouldn't. Numbers wouldn't be numbers without a sequence. You know what I mean? So it's that we're patterns, and the fact that we're like changing, and that there's so many patterns, and so many patterns can change. That's also really beautiful as well. And we're all these little bits, little fragments of each other and different parts.
It's like, I was thinking, well, the other day I was reading about how the Mayans invented the zero, right? And they invented the zero through this idea that the biggest number is 1. Okay, so the biggest number is 1, and then the question would be like, okay, but what is like, I don't know, 1 million then, right? Just like 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So obviously the largest number is 1, and the rest of it is just a series of combinations. So the reason why the zero was so necessary was because we cannot think only in addition but also in subtraction, and yeah, I mean, and in the end is a little bit like that, of what is important about this is not the quantity of it, it's the pattern that creates it, which is what happens with the number 1 in this case. So yeah.
Yeah, they really the ancient Egyptians were super philosophical with this number 0, because they said, how can something exist out of nothing, or how can so yeah, I was obsessed with that for a bit too, especially because the computer is like essentially made up of binary code.
Exactly. Yeah, zeros and ones. Yeah,
it has the same code as like outer space, or like something like, I don't know, something crazy like that. I was reading it. Mark was saying something about it. Shall we wrap things up? Because we finish our party, guys like go home, go to sleep, fuck off. Parties
Well, my day is starting, but yes, my day is only starting. I'm ready.
Yeah, literally same.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anyone have any final words?
Yeah, we should make digital babies together.
Yes.
What's that?
Okay, we do that offline.
Next live stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thanks, Doreen. Thanks,
Thank
Frank.
you.
Thanks.
If anyone is coming to City,
I'll see you in Mexico, Doreen. Bye.
Bye.